Calling you a radical. So here in Utah and in Colorado, everybody's been going crazy, freaking out because these jellyfish-like balloons. I've never seen them before till now in my life, and I've been at this a long fucking time, a long time as a scientist. So they finally NASA's come forward. They're spotted over Denver. They're spotted over Provo. They're spotted over Grand Junction. They're being reported the last 2 weeks. They finally, NASA's come forward and says they're ours, and we're measuring solar radiation. Now, wait a minute. We have lots of mechanisms and devices to measure solar radiation. It's usually done from the ground, but planes, whatever. And why these balloons now? Very interesting, right? So I remember when Fukushima happened, and because the pine needles. Now, how does a pine needle stay green all year, kids? They're hollow, right? How do you tell a fir from a spruce? You just roll it in your fingers, whether it feels round or feels flat, right? So as Kevin Blanch said, when Fukushima happened, this energy is going to get into the trees, this radiation. Now, is radiation from a nuclear disaster different than radiation from the sun? Yes, absolutely. So what's coming off Fukushima? We have no clue. Again, I cannot overstate this. Lake Barrett, who's running the cover-up of Fukushima, on 60 Minutes to Leslie Stahl on day about 3,000. Well, these are full-blown meltdowns, Leslie Stahl? Like, yes. Where are these cores? See those holes? Pacific Ocean? Well, this is like going to the moon to fix this. Lake Barrett. I cannot overstate this. This is important. Way bigger than that. This has never happened before. Now, Kevin Blanch, I predicted this acute radical fire situation. I said, they're going to push this energy, which I named Fuktonium. You can laugh at that all you want. But again, Lake Barrett, this has never happened before. Lake Barrett to Leslie Stahl said, this has never happened before. This has never happened before. So, as I named it Fuktonium, because it's never happened before. It's obviously new. That's like saying the sun come up. It's new. Anybody that says this is not new is just lying to you. They tried to cover up that these weren't melting. Now, again, this has never happened. Chernobyl was a one core meltdown that got entombed. It was a graphite reactor that broke up and entombed by 780,000 men. There's a reason they mined under it. This one, we didn't do anything. Barack Obama and crewed. The 32 ships were sent in, including the USS Reagan. They broke it out. What a tree, right? What a beast. So, this energy, as Kevin Blanch said, day one, is going to be pushed into the Pacific Ocean. And we don't know what it is. Is it radiation? Yes, absolutely. At Livermore, California, at the nuclear lab, which I protested there for years, they say, bringing star power to Earth. That's their logo. It's everywhere. Bringing star power to Earth. That's what a nuclear fission event going inside a nuclear reactor, but it's contained, right? It's contained madness. That's exactly what it is. Bringing star power to Earth. It got out. It got loose for the first time in human history. Now, you know what Einstein said about this. He said if we ever have a real full-blown out nuclear meltdown, it's going to get into the atmosphere, the biosphere, and it's going to change every piece of biology on the planet. Now, the testing of these belts, why now? Now, I remember right after Fukushima, because I was always protesting out at the Energy Solutions dump site. That's where I was at when Fukushima happened, by the way, protesting Mike Lee bringing in the Italian nuclear waste secretly. There were these giant weather balloons that I'd never seen, and I've been protesting out there for decades, post-Fukushima. I'd video them, they'd take them down. It's very different. And so these have got my antennas up. Now, we know it's been said for decades, it's been proven by psychologists that 80% of humans have absolutely no ability to have an observational mind, to have any kind of critical thinking. That's been proven over and over. But in the United States, via the media, via that box, via the, the whole system, from the day you're born, from the time you go to kindergarten, is posturing and groom you not to critically think, not to be dynamic, not to the observational mind. As Einstein said, we teach the conscious mind to rule over the observational mind, when it should be absolutely the opposite. His theory of relativity, he dreamed that when he was a 11-year-old boy. And so this energy, it's unarguable. You can't argue. I mean, it's a lie, anybody that says this is not new, which I named it Fukushima. And I predicted all this. I said, this energy is going to go in the Pacific Ocean. It's going to cause a heat dome over the Western. I said, now I want you to look it up. I'm the guy that named it before it happened. I named it the Great Western North America Heat Dome. I named it in 2011, shortly after Fukushima. It's going to cause a heat bubble. I'm the first guy, when I'm walking the coast, dying of cancer, documenting the dead tide pools, the starvation of the animals, the acute starvation. I'm the first guy to start talking about, look at these trees, and everybody was arguing with me all over California, everywhere. There was beetles. I'm like, it's not beetles. Play back the tape, Your Honor. I had a little flip camera then. I used to have to pop into libraries. I have a stack of library cards this thick. I had to pick up my grandson from school the other day, check him out, and I was talking to the librarian, and she says, oh, the library is the best place, and he looked right at her, and he says, Grandpa, did you show her your stack of library cards? So I pulled out part of about that big. I have a library card from every library in coastal California. I could write a book just about that, because that's what I had to use to plug that flip in. So we know this acute catastrophe to the trees. Now, the fire situation that happening all over the heat dome of the Western Eye, it's unforeseen in the history of, you go talk to any fire marshal. I remember being in NoCal and talking to fire marshals, and they're like, we thought for sure it was arsonists working in symphony with each other to light them over many, 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 many hundreds of square miles. And we've never seen it. And they'll tell you right now, there's a great documentary out about the fires in the city. I mean, McCormick was living there then. I mean, the fire marshal says over, never seen anything like it. He's a longtime fire marshal. Never. Again, it's new. So, people can argue with me all they want. I mean, I consider like somewhat, but it's, first you hypothesize the knowledge. Now, I hypothesize, I've been with these Canadians since the day they came out of the nest. They've had a tough battle because they tore out their nesting grounds and they're losing all their habitat. But they've survived. So have I, barely. Pacific Ocean, barely. So all the evidence post the disaster at Fukushima, they just covered it up. And that's unarguable also. That's unarguable. It's come out, AI out of that. Before they could circle the wagons, artificial intelligence started finding that they had went after anybody that used the word Fukushima nuclear meltdowns, which the only person on earth that was doing that was Kevin Blanch. They tried to cover up that these weren't meltdowns. Now, we've never had a full-blown out nuclear meltdowns. Now, Chernobyl was a graphite reactor that blew up. It was a bad meltdown, really a bad meltdown. But remember, 780,000 men entombed it. Now, the byproduct of that, horrific. And they've lied on that. And it's still radiating, but at least they did. And there's a reason they mined underneath it. At Fukushima, Japan, these are 3 full core meltdowns. At least 3. I believe it's 4 or 5 or 6. But we'll say with their narrative on 3. All those years later, they admit what Kevin Lynch told you in 1 hour. Now, we had 8 spent fuel pools there. 7 spent fuel pools up on top of the buildings. Was probably the biggest load of spent fuel on the planet, including MOX fuel. Now, people don't know what MOX fuel is. MOX fuel is against the law in the United States. That was activists like myself that got that against the law. That's enhanced. So they fire it up. That's how they make nuclear weapons. So what they did, they transported it to Japan. Unit 3 was plumb full. You know, there was all kinds of experimentation going on that reactor. It blew to... I knew. I did the due diligence. I was the professor at the #1 school of business in the country right here. Yes, the WATAS. The WATAS school. Yeah, WATAS, the CEO of General Electric. #1, public entity that was beating the private. I was the guy. I did due diligence on nuclear reactors, including the GE Mach 1, Mach 2. I remember interviewing the 2 whistleblowers. Wait, 2 of the many whistleblowers on it. I knew factually that a GE Mach 1, Mach 2 water boiler could not handle an 8 on the Richter scale. When I saw this as a 9, I knew it. Now, the live cam that was on the barge was not NASA or not, you know, any government installation. That was fought for by activists, mostly Chinese activists, which have been fantastic post-Fukushima. You know, they're all over it, but pre-Fukushima. I mean, I used to do lectures about my top 10 most dangerous nuclear reactors. Where's it going to happen? When? #1, Sinanofre. #2, Diablo Canyon. #3, globally, Fukushima Daiichi. #4, Fukushima Diani. You know, I knew what they were. You know, then I would move to Indian Point, New York, Oyster Creek. You know, Turkey Point's dangerous too, by the way. You know, but we've had, all those are shut down, the said reactors, except for Diablo. My #2, it should have been shut down by now. I don't know why we're keeping it open. So back to it got into the trees. Now, this is being verified, Kevin Blanchard's work over the years. Now, you Google when this, well, they say it's the greatest heat dome drought in 1,200 years. Now, look when it started. Oh, 2011. Just a coincidence, bro. Okay, let's go to the tide pool data. Kevin Blanch, the first thing it's going to take out is the starfish. It's going to wipe them out. No one believe me. It's going to give you cancer. Oh, I got cancer. So, it's an important historic video. So, it's going to give you cancer. It's going to give you cancer. I got cancer. Just the fact that I go into the bone marrow transplant center on 11/11/11. I mean, too sick for a transplant. Walk the entire coast. You know, I have 303 videos in my playlist of low tides, historic low tides. And the best tide pools up and down California, going across, I mean, historic, rough, raw, observational data. First, you hypothesize the knowledge. These are full-blown out meltdowns. They're going to push this. It's going to create an energy unforeseen in the history of mankind. We've never seen this. It's finally happened. I'm a student of Einstein. He predicted it. And so then you do your field work, your field observational work. I did 13 years of it. I mean, all of it, and I'll get back to it. You know, we've had a tough year with tide pooling this year because we've had weird surges on low tides, including last night. We're not getting them. You know, we always get them in the summer. You know, I'm always on, whether it be Monterey, San Diego, Orange, I'm always on the tide pools at low tide and getting that historic footage, watching this wipeout. And my work's been verified. You know, at first, when I was doing it, they were laughing at it. It's been verified. This acute, they call it wasting disease, but that's just on the starfish. But that doesn't get it, and I'll tell you why that doesn't get it, because look at the wipeout on the sea anemones. Look at the wipeout on the Upper California purple urchins. Well documented. So if it's wasting disease affect all the creatures? You know, and then you ask them what caused wasting, they'll say, oh, global warming. So you tell me global warming started 2012. We know that this radical, so these balloons are up now. Why now? Why now? And what are they measuring? Radiation? Okay. I'm sure of that. These jellyfish, and they're being spotted. I've been at this a long fucking time. I understand solar radiation probably as well as anybody on the planet. You know, here in Utah, we're the skin cancer capital of the world. Well, why? High altitude. And the sun shines all day, every day. It's intense. It's radical. I mean, why do you think when you boil water at different temperatures at altitude? I mean, that sun's a powerful, powerful thing. It can give you cancer from 93 million miles away. We have 3 of them in the ocean. So I predicted, which I named Fukushima, and you can argue with me all, but I predict, what is that, just lucky? Am I just son of Cassandra? Am I Blancharddamus? No, I understand this because I've been at this my whole life. Oh, you sleep, drink it, I sleep with it. No, radiation's not death. Well, my father nuked to death in the Nevada test site, sent me on this fucking journey when I was a young boy. I knew that story, and I got to. The own government data shows what the nuclear fallout on open air testing in Nevada did to those Marines, and unzipped the DNA of their children. I was working on a PhD, freelance PhD, the children of the atomic veterans. That's what I was up to for years, proving this. Before I got it, went out of my mouth, and and I get AML, leukemia, the same disease that killed my father died of acute belastic leukemia. All those guys did, and the government data is all out there. And we know that it kills you. We have the data at Chernobyl, which it's hard to get that right, but the government data here in the United States on there is very well done, very clear. It's out there. My uncle was at the Pentagon, got a lot of the good stuff to me, but it's all out there. Freedom of Information Act, before the Patriot Act circled the wagons, got it into the domain. So these balloons, well, there's no doubt in my mind they're measuring radiation. But what are they measuring? Radiation from the sun or radiation from the Fukushima disaster? It's bioaccumulative. If you knew that, that's what we call background level. So when we say, like Ken Buser's study I'm the guy that leaked it out, and he lied. I mean, Ken Buser recently did an interview and says when we got over there in 2011, the radioisotopes, derivative from the Fukushima meltdowns, were millions of times over the background level. He never said that before. His own study that I leaked out said 1,000 times. I mean, they were 40 kilometers off the coast of Fukushima, Japan, into the water column, and their readings showed 1,000 times of cesium-137. You don't get the cesium-137. We know is a derivative, a radionuclide off a nuclear man-made fission event. It's unlike cesium-134. That's why we use it. It's easy to detect. So many of these man-made, including plutonium, which I come up with plutonium, and at Livermore, at the bottom of the pyramid, they fill it. They've crashed and said, why do you think they left the bottom of the chemistry pyramid vacant? These different, that's mine. I mean, I'm the guy that came up with that, which I named FU Futonium, and that's not funny. I did it because PU, FU, and just happens to be the what do we call those in English? A verb, a noun, an adjective, all of the above. I mean, talk about the international word. I mean, Germany had to say the name of the city. So, we know that RadNet, now stay with me, this is important historic stuff. RadNet, the radiation detection network, was built up all over the United States. We spent billions on, dishes there, including on this campus, to read radiation levels for this exact scenario for a Fukushima event. Now, Gina McCarthy was head of RadNet on March 11, 2011. Do you know they immediately, within 24 hours, took down RadNet? It was online. You could see the radiation. They crashed it. Now, we know because of freelancers, the old Marines done such great work, and so many people have, that we know that these levels spiked radically. That's not arguable. We know that. We know now that the plume came right over here. We know that Barack Obama lied when he says scientists are telling us the plume is safe because Cheryl Mills, his aides, emails were leaked out to Hillary, to Hama, to everybody in the Beltway. This is, the plume is coming over us. It is radioactive. Don't go outside. Take a shower. He said, we know that. That got leaked out. It's into the domain. It's out there. We know for a fact that, and Obama knew. So we know that is factual. So we know it was a conspiracy to cover it up. They didn't just happen to take off RadNet coincidentally. So I don't do. Scientists are mystified, they're baffled, they're stumped, they're curious, they're alarmed, they're bewildered. I don't do that. In science, we don't do that. In science, I'm a biologist. I'm not a quantum physicist. I started out as that was part of my mantra, and I'm like, but I knew, Einstein wrote so many pages, he used to call it entanglement. Well, he didn't call it entanglement. He used to call it spooky science at a distance. We know that quantum physics like DeGrasse and Hawkins and these guys, that's not science. That has that's philosophy. It's bullshit. It's what it is. It's all philosophy about the stars, black holes, all of it. You know, Metal Braun, he was a real scientist. Bend the ears. You know, I'm a big fan of Metal Braun. Huge fan of Metal Braun. All he basically did is take your rabbit ears and bend them. That's how your cell phone works, by the way. I mean, talk about a breakthrough. It was simple. You know, Einstein said it was the fabric. He said it was more of a gas. Kevin Blanche, I say it's a plasma. You know, John Holden, who covered up Fukushima, the eugenics from thing, was in the Situation Room, who gave that second interview. I'm the guy that put her up to that second interview, who let the cat out of the bag on Fukushima. You know, somewhat. He let classified information out. I don't even know if it's been classified, but I've been told by multiple people that I'm classified. Army Corps engineers sent me freaking emails off the live cam at the Army Corps engineers off the Bonneville that I was classified. I've been told by people in very, 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 very high places, including my uncle, who's the ex-fucking big wig at the Pentagon, that I'd been classified. I mean, you think about that. So, what are these balloons measuring? Radiation is a broad term. When somebody says radiation, it's like we use I have 4 tattoos of me from radiation. I had very light. I was Dr. Thompson, LDS, last patient. And my doctor doesn't like radiation treatment. Radiation, chemo, 2 very different things. I had a new brand of chemo. They experimented on me. It worked, but it took out everything else. It took out my heart valve, which was already deformed from birth. You know, I was a preemie. I was a sick kid. I was born with a heart murmur, but, you know, I've had open heart surgery twice now. I lost my teeth, lost my gallbladder, all from the new experimental chemo, but I had AML de novo with a marker of 44, which is unsurvivable. And it's not a coincidence my father had it. You know, this is a guy, my grandmother told me, never had a cavity, never had a cold. She says he never had a sick day in his life. I don't even remember having a sick day. Mowed him down in the prime of his fucking life. Most healthy. Annika, who born and raised in Ukraine. Mowed her down. She was the most beautiful, healthy, freaking incredible person I ever knew at 38. It killed her, the same disease. You know, Chernobyl. We know that Chernobyl freaking cancer rates. We know that leukemia rates in 2012, it's all come out fine. Got spiked. We know the tidal data. We have all the empirical. We know the starvation valve. Kevin Blanche, this new energy is going to break the chain. It's going to take out the photoplankton. It's going to break the eco chain. The plume, I'm the first guy that fucking started. I'm the guy that first started calling it the blob. I'm the first guy to report you can physically see it. Me and John Kirk up there on the Vancouver fucking Canadian-Washington fucking state border. You know, I did all that work. You can physically see it. Because what happens when the healthy species out, the fucking lowest species moves in, right? We call that scum. So, what are these balloons doing? I've never seen them. And no, I mean, I've been at this a long time. Radiation is one big, broad term. When people say humans radiate. You ever stood next to a person that you really were attracted to, that you really, really like, maybe for the first time? And before you even hold hands or kiss or anything, and you stand by each other, and that energy that you can feel, oh, that's very real. Because a human being radiates. Einstein proved that. As Einstein said, when you die, you know, remember what he said about that? I have proven one thing. I've proven that energy never ceases to exist. And the human body is plumb full of energy. Now, did it come from the stars? Did it come from God? Did it come? I don't know. But he says, I know one thing. I proved that it never ceases to exist. It takes its next place. Remember when he went to the funeral in La Jolla? And he said, why are you crying? He's just in the next dimension? Well, that's philosophy. But science, in science, you have to prove it. You have to prove the effect. You hypothesize what happened. You can't be afraid to be right. You can't be afraid to be wrong. Then you get to work. 13, and what am I supposed to do? Put it in the JSTOR? You know, so maybe Aaron Swartz can download it and leak it to WikiLeaks. They've captured the PhDs. So I went rogue. Remember, I worked at the #1 school. I was the Bill Russell of that school. Number one. Beating Wharton at the same time. My class, 96, when I'm the student professor, the highest exit fucking scores in fucking undergraduate history to this day. We're private. That's the same time Elon Musk is at Wharton. Wharton's our sister school. We're beating them every year. And then Warren Buffett runs in here and takes it over. And so I stand up and fight back. What am I supposed to do? It's kind of like fighting cancer. So what are these balloons testing? NASA's come out. And by the way, how much money does NASA, where does all that money go? It's kind of like the nuclear energy crime scene. You know, is that into the tide pools, They don't illuminate, they radiate. So bringing star power to Earth. By the way, Kamala Harris's mother was the epidemiologist at Livermore. What's an epidemiologist? Well, that's part of my mantra. Cancer research PhD, right? And then she dies of cancer. Kind of like Rachel Carson, right? Rachel Carson, what happened to her? Silent Springs, I mean, person I've always looked. My favorite scientists in history are Rachel Carson and, well, I like Metalbron. I love Einstein, but Semmelweis, the germ theory guy from Budapest in Hungary. Remember what they did to him? Kevin Blanch standing right here. All new knowledge will be persecuted. Fukushima. Now, the fire events in the trees, the heat dome over the western United States, you can't argue with me. It happened. The wipeout of the starfish, the tide pools, and it's just situation. These are starfish. The sea anemones have crashed. Look, remember when I found all those big California hares? What's California? I mean, my historic fucking biology work fucking on the ocean. It wiped everything out. It fucking totaled it all out. It didn't extinct it, but it almost. I named it the Great Pacific. Look at the salmon data. Actually, the Chinook salmon will not collapse until 2016 because they go to sea to 5 years. Now, steelhead salmon go 1 to 2 years. I said they will start to collapse on. And you go all the way from the Kenai to the Jellyfish Smith. Jellyfish Smith, no dams. Right next to it, the Klamath. Who now they just tore out the dams. Dams in symphony. They won't. The Chinook record returns on the Kenai, on the Columbia, on the Fraser till 20 on the Chinook. They go to see. I said, will you believe me when they crashed in 2016? Yeah, but that ain't gonna. Oh, I mean, we got for record just an absolute off a cliff crash, to the point that the Kenai, with no dams, this year had hair over 10,000 Chinook with no gill netting, no tribal takeouts, no fishing on the Kenai. That's just a 95, 96. Then they're all in symphony. The Jellyfish Smith and the Klamath, which one had dams, they're in symphony with each other. Absolutely in symphony. That's science. So what are they measuring? NASA comes out and says we're measuring solar radiation. Well, I've never seen balloons like this. Now, do I think they've been measuring this new, which I call Fukushima from day one? There's no doubt in my mind. But just like the cover-up, Fukushima is the cover-up is the greatest conspiracy in human history. And I'm the opposite conspiracy. Who's orchestrating that? The United States government's orchestrating that freaking thing. Japan's ran by the United States ultimately. Ask Rahm Emanuel. He's the ambassador of Japan. What are you talking about? Ask Lake Barrett. He's on Lake Barrett again to Leslie Stahl in 60 minutes. I cannot overstate this. On about Dave. Well, these are full blown out mountains. Yes. Lake Barrett to Leslie Stahl. Leslie Stahl first asked, are these full blown out freaking? So you're telling me these are full blown out nuclear mountain? Leslie Stahl, Lake Barrett. Lake Barrett, who's running the cover up? Who ran the cover up at 3 Mile Island? Yes. Well, where's the course? We don't know. We don't know. The Pacific Ocean's right there. Well, this is like going to the moon to fix this. Leslie Stahl to Lake Barrett. Lake Barrett back to Leslie Stahl. Way bigger than that. This has never happened. This has never happened. As Kevin Blanch said, and you know where I think the demic came from, but I mean, everybody knows everything, and we know the two hypotheses that are out there, neither one's been proven. But we can't, it's like you don't even know where Spanish flu came from to this day because people won't revisit it. I mean, we're going to do this with Fukushima? These are fucking full blown out mountains. Never happened to Mayak, never happened to Santa Susana, never happened to 3 Mile Island, never happened to Pathfinder, Dakota, never fucking even happened at Chernobyl. 700, we didn't do shit. We pushed it in the Pacific Ocean. Just think that for every action, there's a reaction, right? That's basic fundamental science. That's basic fundamental anything. You're telling me at least 3 full core meltdowns and 8 spent fuels with the biggest load, fucking, how many thousands of tons of fucking spent fuel, including blown the fucking smithereens, pushed it in the Pacific Ocean. You're telling me there's no byproduct for that? Fuck. That's the most insane thing I've ever heard. In fact, that's the opposite of science. Scientists are mystified, they're baffled. I've proven it. I have the empirical data. The salmon data, we have it. The whale starvation. Now the 75 biologists come out and agree with Kevin Blanchard. I did it in real time. Yeah, the whale starvation on the grays and the humpback whales started in 2012. And then you go, every one of them, and I've been emailing all these people and say, okay, well then what is the global warming? So wait a minute. We know factually global warming started a long time, many decades ago. We know it's been like this. That's unarguable. We know the background levels. What do you think of background? Well, they know it. Freaking these NASA keeps track of the background level. Bikini Atolls, the open air test in Nevada, all the dumping. We know what those levels are. We know they radically fucking spike. Buser's work that I leaked out proves that. Of course, he covered it up, but it's out there. Got leaked into the fucking EU, and it's out there. 1,000 times. In his conclusion, these multiple scientists, including University of Arizona, including Cal Berkeley, all these stuff, there's no stopping. So, and that's in June of 20. Now, I posted video that we have off the live cam when it blew up again on June 14th, 2011. You know, so this has been a giant fucking cover-up. They push this energy in the Pacific Ocean. The storms rise up. Kevin Blanch's hypothesis, this energy is going to fucking be new. It's going to get into the trees. It's going to cause a heat dome. It's going to break the chain. It's going to take out the plankton. You're going to see a starvation event fucking like you've never seen. It's going to spark fucking cancer rates. Every single word. That was a hypothesis. Then I did my field work with my iPads and my flip camera. I mean, it was hard with no money. It's going to give. I got cancer, remember? And Mike kicked me out Medicaid, and I forked over my Tesla stock, remember? Remember that? I had you buying all Apple and Tesla stock in 2011? Fuck. Not my place in time, and I had to fork it all over. And then I spent all that time in the bone marrow transplant central line. I mean, I'm doing type 4 work from critical condition. Platelets at 30. I mean, what a fucking story. It's Rachel Carson on fucking chemo, literally, on Balco. You know, my favorite scientist ever. Rachel Carson? Oh, fuck. God, what a scientist. Real one. Her great book. It's about that big. To change the world. That's what stopped the open air test in Nevada. When you hear 1963 Kennedy speaking about this, he's almost talking about fucking speaking to me. Hey, these men that got nuked in the Nevada test site, it's going to unzip and give their children fucking leukemia. He blocked it. We know what happened to him just a few months later. Semmelweis? Oh, fuck, little germs that flying through the air. His doctors washed their hand for 10 years. He was an MD and he proved it. And they still fucking drove him so insane because he knew he was right and they still ignored it. And, well, not ignored it, they attacked him. Threw him in a rubber room, beat him to death. Semmelweis is probably the greatest fucking scientist who ever lived. Rachel Carson. Think about what they stood up. Well, Kevin Blanch. Think about it. I named this plutonium. So the balloons showing up they look like a jellyfish. There's videos all over. You know, in Utah, in Colorado, who knows where else. NASA's come out and says we're measuring atmospheric radiation. Okay. Can you tell the atmospheric radiation from the sun? Can you differentiate that from the radiation that's pushing into the Pacific Ocean and coming off Fukushima? I don't believe they have a device that can tell the difference. Is there a difference? Absolutely. But how are you going to... Radiation is such a big, broad term. A lot of things radiate. You know, radiation is different. I mean, why do you think they use radiation to fight fucking cancer? Targeted fucking cell therapy. It's vicious. Controlled madness. Fighting fire with fire. What are they really measuring? And where are the readings? Like I said, the old Marine, he's done incredible work. There's so many of us freelancers that did so much fucking incredible work. Remember I had my buzzing Geiger counter? I used to walk around here for years. Remember that little one on my keychain that would beep and see? You know, and I had them. You know, and I don't... To think you're going to take a Geiger counter and measure on the coast of the California is going to give you proper readings. It's not. I mean, I don't have enough widespread that NASA does. Bob does. Fucking the government does. We know factually. Now, there's been some radiation spikes showing up recently again in Norway. You know, they've been coming out and talking about it. You know, they're militant because of Chernobyl and the reindeer studies. And we have the Baby 2 study, which is paramount, done by our own government. It's an excellent study. We have all these excellent studies that were done in the 50s and 60s before the Patriot Act circled the wagon, and FOIA documents and great activists got them out there. We know what fucking radiation does to people. It unzips your DNA, gives you leukemia, well, all kinds of multiple other diseases, every other fucking disease you can think, these autoimmune deficiencies. Fuck, I don't eat, sleep, drink it. I sleep with it. So my data, you can laugh at plutonium all you want, but we know factually, unarguably, the energy coming off Fukushima, these 3 reactors are pushed in to the Pacific Ocean. That's unarguable. My work is unarguable. We know this has never happened before. Again, Lake Barrett to Leslie Stahl. This is like going to the moon. Way better than this has never happened before. And Einstein said when it does happen, and it's going to happen. So part of me was happy when Fukushima happened because I'm like, that's it. The nuclear energy is over. Who knew that they could circle the wagons and they'd infiltrated? Well, I knew they'd infiltrated academia. Did I know that they had total 100% control of, the media? Well, I knew they had a lot of control. I predicted it the day that it happened. So I find it very, very interesting. Very, very interesting that these weather jellyfish, think about the irony of it. They call them jellyfish. And so, by the way, the lion's-mane jellyfish have been washing up in big way in Oregon. You ever seen a lion-mane jellyfish? Fucking incredible fucking creatures. They're 100% electric. That's their whole being. You ever fucking been in the ocean during the bioluminescence? Not the fake one now that's going because it's all the time, because of toxins. The real one? Fuck, I have. Talk about an electric experience. That's the photosynthesis from the fucking sun. That's the staff of fucking life. That's where we all come from. Fucking, the staff of life. High five for Hershey. So, these balloons showing up in Colorado, multiple stories showing up all over. NASA's finally come out and says they're ours. We're measuring. Well, they've been always measuring. So, the whole thing, I'm telling you, I've said for decades, for 13 years now, they will not be able to keep this genie in the bottle, this cover-up of Fukushima, because it's not like, other things that can be covered up, because it doesn't end. It just keeps going on, and it is the great equalizer. It affects even the people that are covering up. Spanish flu ended, and just like this is not ending, because it's continuous, because it just keeps going in. They can't find these cores. They sent in the robot again. We're day 4,942. They're trying to get 3 grams out of Unit 2, which that Unit 2 didn't. It's not the big gaping holes as much as Unit 1 and 3, so they say, but we've seen pictures of the holes in Unit 1 and 3, which I named Delmar Argentina syndrome. Again, why do you think they mined underneath Chernobyl? So, push into the ocean, and they can't get it. Every time they put a robot in there, they've done this hundreds and hundreds of times, they'll just fry out. And they'll tell you, we don't know what this is. We have no clue. Again, this is new, which I named Fuktonium. So the weather balloons are showing over the Western Island. We know this heat dome. Oh, it's been wicked this summer. This fucking heat has been intense. All my trees died. All my pine trees in my fucking yard died in 2014-15. My fucking dogs died of leukemia. I almost died. I've well documented it. The trees and things in the pine needles, So, NASA says they're testing solar radiation. Okay, can you tell solar radiation from the radiation coming off the meltdowns of Fukushima, which we know that's coming off from them? The people used to laugh at it. Well, how can you laugh at it when you have a 9-4 earthquake? Well, anybody that had half a brain cell knew that these were full blown out fucking meltdowns immediately. Fucking 9-point fucking, holy fuck, TikTok Diablo, they can't handle an 8. We knew they were fractured in the cores. Anybody who's really fucking a real scientist, I knew it. In the cover-up, I knew they'd go in the cover-up because that's what they always do. They did it at Hiroshima, they did it at Nagasaki, they did it at 3 Mile Island, they did it at Chernobyl, they did it at the global cartel. They don't, the untouchables. So, to this extent, and the Great Pacific Genocide, what the effects of it, I've proven it. I'm not mystified, I'm not baffled, I'm not stumped, I'm not fucking curious. I did the work. And my work has been verified by multiple, hundreds of biologists coming out and agreeing with me now. Yes, this acute catastrophe started in 2012. Well, in science, we call that an outlier versus outright liars. In an outlier, we use computer regressionary models. I'm an old stats guy, and so you can plug the data into the computer, the gray well data, the humpback well data, the sea anemone data, the Upper California purple ocean data, the fucking starfish data, the fucking trees, the fire data, the heat dome of the wind. We have all that data. We have it all. You can plug it into regressionary models and it will fucking deviate from the mean a million fucking times. And it will show that unarguable, it's absolutely unarguable. There is a radical over the the Western North American continent in the Pacific Ocean. There's a radical outlier, 2011. 2011. It's unarguable. It's unarguable. It's the greatest outlier in human history. Bigger than even Krakatoa. So we have to get to work. What caused this? Was it another Krakatoa form? Did a meteor hit Earth? No. At least 3 full core fucking meltdowns for the first time. Again, Lake Barrett to Leslie Stahl. This is like going to the moon to fix this. Way bigger than that. This has never happened before. Which, where do I get my awards and my prizes? I guess I'll wait like fucking Semmelweis after they beat me to death. My place in time. I'm the father of plutonium. I'm the one that first came up with that. You think that there's not a new energy coming off these full-blown meltdowns for the never happened before is naive. Of course it's new. Which I named plutonium. So, I don't do fucking conspiracy. I don't do fucking well, I did hypothesis. I do science. I mean, I'm not a quantum physicist. I do science. I'm a biologist. Work that can be proven, and I proved it. So, very interesting. I'll tag this, the balloons. Stay in tuned.